Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a new episode of Chatting with Lady C. Hi, Mum, how are you?
Hello, honey. I'm very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks.
And we see Mickey's well too, isn't
Yes, she is.
Poor Mickey's suffering on with his heat.
Oh, I think we all are.
Yes. Somebody asked about air conditioning. That has to be an American, because of course Americans have air conditioning everywhere.
Yes.
And I think they don't realize that in English castles there's no such thing as air conditioning.
No.
We are very, very pucker. We actually have central heating, which many of them do not have.
Yes.
So
Actually, I posted a video of my AC unit, my portable one, because I bought a portable one.
yeah.
And a friend of mine from America, and he says, "You're so American." I was like, "I can't go anywhere without that thing. I literally have a suitcase for it. I go around London, England even, and with a suitcase with an AC unit down it. It's just crazy." I can't. It's too hot all the time for me.
Now, I think you have some questions for us, don't you?
Yes, I do. So,
And I should say, I agree. I should explain to everybody that you actually suggested that we do this and do others purely on certain subjects, and that this subject is going to be on Meghan and Harry.
yes.
Okay?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Well, you suggested
Yeah, I
it.
know, so I agree with my suggestion. No, definitely. So for our first question today, it is, Prince Harry recently said social media was stoking a crisis of hate and urged company to rethink their roles in advertising and digital platforms. In an opinion piece of the US business magazine Fast Company headline, "Social media is dividing us. Together, we can redesign it." Harry said that the social media, as it currently stands, is unwell. The former senior royal said he and his wife Meghan have spent the past few weeks working with the business leader and marketing executives on the issue to try and introduce changes. Is this a valid use of his royal status or an abuse of his position?
Well, I think that's a wonderfully appropriate question to ask, and I think it's one of the most important questions that will ever be asked on this or any other program. Because the fact of the matter is, Harry and Meghan are interfering with freedom of speech and doing it deliberately. Anybody who's read George Orwell will know of the rather brilliant essay Orwell wrote many, many years ago, warning against the dangers of misusing language so that you actually flip the meaning of the words on their heads. So, for instance, what Harry said in his speech is that they are defending freedom of speech by censoring anybody who gives an opinion that they regard as hateful. This is the absolute opposite of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is an integral part of the American Constitution. It is the First Amendment. In England, we also have freedom of speech. And Harry and Meghan have been trying to shut down freedom of speech in the media in England by suing various publications. They are now trying to shut down social media, which means that they're trying to shut down. Social media is an international thing. And they are going after Facebook, because Facebook and other fora of that kind allow people to post negative things about them. So when they speak about hate. They're speaking about what they hate. Harry and Meghan are very disturbed individuals. Harry has serious mental health issues. It is an acknowledged fact within the royal circle that he's always had them and he continues to have them. One of the reasons why Harry and Meghan have been cut as much latitude as they have been is because of the royal family's awareness of the fact that Harry has serious mental health issues. He has unfortunately fallen under the spell of a woman who, and I say spell very deliberately, because even amid scabies in his book says that Harry, as soon as he met Meghan, appeared to be in a trance. So when I said originally that Meghan had enthralled Harry and that Harry was in her thrall, I was roundly criticised for saying what was so obvious, but even her Minister of Propaganda is actually acknowledging that Meghan has Harry in her thrall. And this is driven not only by Meghan, but by Harry, because Harry and Meghan both want to control the narrative. They are talking about hate. What they're talking about is that they hate the fact that there are all sorts of fora out there, or as many people say, forums. Forum is actually a Latin word and the plural is fora, but maybe for ease of reference I'll say forums. But there are many, anyway, there are many fora. I'm sorry, I can't. I must say what I know to be correct. There are many fora out there that are critical of Harry and Meghan, or of Meghan and Harry's political beliefs. And so what they are both trying to do is interfere, and I think it is actually outrageous that he and she are so tone deaf and blind to their responsibilities and the consequences of their actions insofar as they affect political life in England as well as in America. That they are proudly acknowledging that they have been interfering with businesses and trying to put pressure on businesses to shut down fora that they are not, that they disapprove of, because these fora propound or allow people a platform to have opinions that they disagree with. That is censorship of the rankest and most odious kind. Harry and Meghan are shaping up to be extremely dangerous people who need to be stopped. And I have to tell you, I have been receiving approaches not only from the public, but from former members of the royal household, asking me if I will assist them in certain ways, which up to now I have avoided doing. But I am actually beginning to think that Harry and Meghan really are very dangerous, because he is a willing dupe and she is actually a very, very poisonous individual who extremely ambitious and under the guise of caring is ruthlessly ambitious and will further her political and personal ambitions at the expense of even freedom of speech. I think they ought to be stopped.
Interesting.
What do you think?
I think for the next question, it was supposed to be something different, but I'm going to jump to our last question right now, because what you've just said here is actually goes very well with our last question. So I'm actually going to jump into that one before, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely, honey. Absolutely.
So our last question, that has actually become our second question now, is why have Charles and the Queen not intervened to shut down Meghan and Harry when their conduct is doing so much damage to the monarchy?
Well chosen to revise the running order. Whoever wrote that question, and I actually think it's come in various guises and forms recently.
Seen many of them, yes.
Yes. And I think people do not realize that this is a very multi-layered issue for the royal family. Harry is somebody they love. Harry is Charles's son and the Queen's grandson. They love him. They know he's a very troubled and disturbed young man. Well, not so young. He's, the natural lifespan is 70 years old. So if you're 36, you are already past the halfway point. But anyway, we'll say somebody who is relatively youthful but should be rather more mature than he is. I know because I had a very disturbed mother. And when you have disturbed members of your family, and especially when you are members of a prominent family, you have to be really very measured and very careful. And there's always one eye on the damage that the individual can do publicly, so to speak. There's also the damage that the person wreaks privately. And there's also the issue of trying to contain them and steer them onto more positive paths so that they will not do damage. And, also it's very difficult when you're dealing with people who are mentally disturbed or mentally ill, to know how to deal with them. It's hindsight is a wonderful thing, but you need to give people enough rope to hang themselves with. And, well, you do. And more than one person has actually commented that this seems to be the Queen's technique. And I would imagine that, well, they need, the Queen also is a very loving mother and grandmother who has given her children and grandchildren very great freedoms, sometimes too much freedom. Yes. Charles is in a very invidious position because Diana, while she was alive, did her darndest to undermine him as a father. She did it not only privately with the children and within the family circle and her social circle, but she did it publicly, making out that Charles was a bad father. So there are all sorts of issues and dynamics going on within the royal family that really mean that there's very little that Charles and the Queen can do in the short term beyond allowing Harry and Meghan to have the freedom to make their own mistakes. Having said that, Harry and Meghan also need to be more mindful of their responsibilities, which they're not. I mean, I won't go into in this conversation. We'll do in some other conversation, the book that they have written, because there's no doubt that they have written it, if not actually physically written it. They have written it in every way, shape and form, because there is no way that amid scabies and cowering Durand could possibly have known what was passing through Meghan's head and what yoga pose she was in, and when she took a poo in, and how Harry was admiring of the fact that she pooed in the bushes, and oh my God, aren't you just so down to earth, Meg? Oh, I just love the fact that you've pooed. I mean, honestly. And although their book is packed with so much incriminating detail that shows that this is Meghan, mostly Meghan speaking, with a bit of Harry speaking. But I won't go into any of that now.
Yeah, we're going a bit off topic.
Yes, we're going, yeah. And so to revert to the subject, there's also, aside from the family issues, and Harry is an adult.
Yes.
Unless he is sectioned, he has the freedom to behave as any other free person behaves. So there's that aspect to it. There's also the aspect that the royal family, as is much of the ruling class, is very centrist. They understand the need for progress, but they also understand the need for conserving and preserving that which is good in society. Meghan and Harry are advocates for change. Change. She is too unsophisticated and she is too ignorant, because she's not from a grand background. She's from a very simple background. She has no knowledge of what ruling is about. She has no concept of it. She has a few weird ideas in her head, some good, some really very destructive. And she's a word salad mixer, she's in love with the sound of her own voice. She is like many people who are very woke and very egotistical and very interested in basically using politics for their own glorification. I knew some of them quite well. Michael Manley, who was the former Prime Minister of Jamaica. He was Mummy's first boyfriend. His daughter Rachel was my brother Mickey's, your Uncle Mickey's first girlfriend. Yes. Michael Manley was another one, a rhetorician. Everything was rhetoric, which basically ended up being verbal manure. I mean, and Meghan's very much of that ilk. And, these people are very irresponsible. They do a great deal of damage. However, they also capture the popular imagination, especially with people who are unsophisticated or uneducated or irresponsible, or people who are disadvantaged, because disadvantaged people want to feel, quite rightly, that their leaders care for them. Well, the best way of caring for the disadvantaged is to improve their lot generally. It is not to create havoc and to encourage people to riot, which is what Meghan and Harry have been doing. It is not jumping on Marxist bandwagons and stoking racist fires and, basically exploiting racial tensions for their glorification and to the detriment of everybody in the country. But putting all of that aside, it is in the interest of any royal family to be seen to be with the people.
Yes.
And therefore, there is also a school of thought at the palace that let this play out, because hopefully Meghan and Harry will be able to capture the left wing, while William and Catherine will capture the middle ground. And then everybody's happy. So there's also, in real terms, a slightly sort of measured realpolitik is what the word is. It's realpolitik. It rarely means exactly what it says. It is politics in reality, and the reality of politics. And the reality of politics is that every royal family to survive has to link itself to the people.
Yes, of course they do. Yes.
So there's also that reason why they're not shutting them down. But even if they wanted to shut them down, they would not be able to shut them down easily, because they are free individuals, and they are, only if they go so far and create such outrage that there is a hue and cry, which is building. I mean, the public has been advocating stripping them of their titles. I wish I had a penny for everybody who suggested to me that I assist in getting Harry and Meghan's titles stripped from them. I mean, I would not have to worry about money ever. So,
yeah, are we ready for the next one?
I think so, don't you?
Yeah, me too. Very much. All right. Next week, Meghan will attend a virtual gender and politics summit. The 19th, 2020, as one of its key guests will include Hillary Clinton and Melinda Gates, among others. According to the summit's website, the 19th was founded to shine a light on the unfinished businesses of the 19th Amendment and empowered women. Is this involvement appropriate for the British Duchess?
Well, what I find really interesting about Meghan's involvement with this is that she has reached out to them. In other words, and in the Amit Scabi's book, every 10th word is Meghan reaching out to somebody. And every few weeks you hear of Meghan and or Harry having reached out to some charity, some website, something, to get themselves in front of a camera or on the front pages of a newspaper. In theory, I suppose there's nothing wrong with any royal seeking to better the lot of women and or men. I mean, let's remember, people are people. And so I think to that extent, that's okay. Hillary Clinton, Melinda Gates, these are all very woke people who, properly speaking, a British royal should avoid going to bed with one political party as opposed to another. And much of the involvement is with the Democratic Party in the United States. I mean, Meghan has made it clear in the past that she votes Democrat, that she likes Hillary Clinton, that she likes Michelle Obama, that she despises Donald Trump. which you could say was indiscreet, but before she was a royal, she was a political activist. My own feeling, and I know it's the feeling of everybody at the palace, is that Meghan, once she became a royal duchess, she should have understood that by giving up the sound of her voice, which she seems to be enthralled with, she was actually swapping verbosity for silence, but that the silence was very empowering and could do an awful lot of good for an awful lot of people. What it does not do is good for somebody who is loquacious and involved with the sound of her own voice. And Meghan has found it intolerable to be silent, or as she puts it, to be muzzled. She has found it, she needs to speak. She needs to be, and she positions herself in such a way that she is in the forefront of all activity. I mean, you can see this is her natural character. She's on, for instance, whenever she's with Harry, she makes sure that she bolts in front of him, and if he forgets it, she taps him on the back or holds his and then she's off like a racehorse or a dog at a racetrack. When she was on her first engagement with the Queen, she actually had the temerity and the completely inappropriate gall to ask the Queen who should go first. I mean, I'm sorry, even somebody who was the most ill-bred, savage, swine, pig would have understood, the Queen goes first, not bloody Meghan Markle. Yeah. I mean, but it shows...
Also age before...
age, exactly. It also shows how completely obsessed this woman is with always putting herself forward, and that she has no filter where standing back is concerned. She just doesn't get it. Well, she has proposed herself for this, as she has proposed herself for very much else. I was brought up to believe that you only go to parties when you're asked to them.
Yes.
And that, it's the height of poor behavior to push yourself forward. Well, she has got to be the most pushy individual that it has ever been my displeasure to see in the whole of my life, because her pushiness is beyond belief, and she covers it with a thin veneer of principle. As I used to say to your grandmother, who, as you know, was a piece of work, as is dear Meghan, I used to point out to Mummy that, it doesn't matter. When you cover dirty deeds with noble motives, they still remain dirty deeds. And Meghan is regrettably, like your grandmother, the sort of person who covers her dirty deeds with noble motives. She is, like your grandmother, ruthlessly self-centered, totally egotistical, sucking up all the oxygen in every room so that only she is the center of attention. Then trying to cover it up that she cares so much for everybody, that she's doing it for their good. No, she's not. And I think it is to her, I think her having pushed herself forward yet again. But what is interesting is that the organizers have not made her a keynote speaker. They have actually not made her anything of any consequence. She is simply going to be asking questions. So she is in they have contained her to the full extent that they can.
Yes,
because the word is spreading not only in England but in America that Meghan Markle is somebody you have to watch. Which I think is a great pity, because she does have virtues, but then so did your grandmother. And I have to say, the more I know about Meghan, is the more I see parallels between your grandmother and Meghan Markle. And I regrettably also see parallels between Harry and your grandfather. And more than that I will not say at this point, except that people have asked me to speak about, and I think I will do it at some point, what it is like to be raised by a narcissist, how it affects you, how you can cope with it, what you can do to get over it. And I think there are many, many indications in Meghan's conduct that she is not only as bad, that she is as bad as your grandmother, except without your grandmother's virtues, because your grandmother at least was well bred and knew how to conduct herself socially, and took the trouble to actually conceal her narcissistic behavior, which Meghan really doesn't do. It's sort of like, get out of my way, get out of my way. Get out of my way! The world is I'm the only person who exists. God, I mean, it's sick. It's really sick. So anyway, next question.
All right. No, it's actually quite funny.
You think so?
Yeah, no, hilarious.
Well, do you remember how your grandmother was?
Yeah, a lot. I love Grandma, but she was the character, wasn't she? And
yes, she was.
You didn't get on her bad side, I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that. All right,
okay,
so for our final question of today's episode, what do you think about Harry and Meghan buying the house in Santa Barbara?
Well, I actually think in some ways that's a very good move. I know that an awful lot of people in Britain are outraged that as we are about to enter the greatest recession man has known for the last 300 years, that Harry and Meghan have spent £11 million on a house.
Yeah, $14 million.
Yeah.
Something like that, yes.
So, well, I doubt very much that they have written a check for that amount of money, because first of all, they don't have it. Secondly, credit is very cheap at this point. So even if you have a lot of money, it would suit you to actually have a mortgage, because your money can work for you and make far more money while working for you than effectively sleeping in a property. So I'm sure that it's done on a hefty mortgage. And Harry has enough money to be able to subsidize a mortgage. I actually do agree with an awful lot of people in England who are demanding that they pay off their loan to the British state for the refurbishment of Frogmore Cottage.
I agree.
Now,
I agree.
Instead of over 18 years, I think that would show willingness on their part. If the Prince of Wales has helped them, well, that's what fathers who love their sons do. So, but you like the house?
Yes, it was a beautiful house. It's very big and beautiful. It was built in 2003 as well. And what I like about it is that even to nowadays, you can build a house out of stone and look like an old house.
Yes, it does look like it's got age.
It's got age and it looks beautiful. It's not like a plasterboard house that's just been built up with a few bricks. It's
very elegant, isn't it?
It's very nice.
It is elegant.
It's worth the money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
It
in
is,
fact,
but
they got a bargain. They got a
did
bargain.
they? Well, even that's probably why they went for it.
They
They've
got a
got a
bargain.
private tennis court as well, and they were talking about a few months back, like they wanted something like that, so they didn't have to bring the child to the park and keep their privacy and all of that. So they've got what they wanted, didn't they?
Yes, well, I think Meghan always gets what she wants. And which, good luck to her. I think it's a beautiful house as well. And I wish them well in it. I actually don't think it's such a bad move. I think they have got a bargain. I think that it's well located.
Yes.
It's very near to Oprah's house.
Okay.
And guess who used to own Oprah's house? Nina's parents.
Oh wow, amazing. But also, it's nice to see it from the outside. I would love, to be honest, to see how they've decorated it. But some people have beautiful houses out there, and then you see an empty room with no paintings on the walls, one sofa in the living room, and you're like, this is such beautiful house with nothing in it. So if we could ever get a sneak view in that house, I would love to see what their decoration is like, to see what it brings out somebody's personality.
Yes.
And I would like to see that.
Yes.
I would really like to see the interior instead of the exterior now.
Well, I'm glad you would, honey. To me, it's a matter of total indifference, I've got to say, you know.
Yes.
Although I have to say that she's not well known for aristocratic taste. She evidently is very much greyish on grey and beige on beige.
That's the thing, you can't take an old house and put modern furniture in it. You have to get antique stuff, or even new stuff that look antique. You can't just get a modern sofa and put it in an old house. It just ruins the whole vibe, I think. It's not possible.
Yes, and we have friends who've done that with their castles in Scotland. Yes. Yeah, and I think they ruined their place, but we won't mention the name because I'm not trying to be mean. The ramifications as well are really pretty extensive of their buying a house in Santa Barbara. Aside from the fact they've chosen very well and very wisely and very tastefully, there are all sorts of tax and residency and citizenship implications and status implications, which it will be interesting to see down the line what happens, because I'm not going to say very much, but I am very mindful of the fact that by buying a property in California, Harry and Meghan, it's a real game changer. It's a real game changer in terms of tax, in terms of their status, and also it actually gives the message that they intend to stay abroad. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing, you know. I think that they have made themselves so unpopular in this country that I think that it's just as well they're out of the country, because I really don't see that it behooves the British people and the British monarchy to have two lecturers who are both ignorant of the realities of life telling everybody what they should be doing. You can't travel once a year because we need to travel twice a week in a private jet. So no, you're not allowed to go on any cheapo airline. You've got to go next door. And actually, maybe you'd better not even, maybe you should do it in a people carrier. And the people carrier should actually be an electric car, because we are so conscious that we are telling you what to do. I mean, but, you know, these people have really lost their way. Anyway, I think that's my take on it.
Yeah, it's a great take.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think it gets the word out there.
Okay, well, thank you, honey, very much.
It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. God bless. Bye-bye. Oh, also, please keep the questions coming in on the comment section. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.